Do you love paying your taxes? If you said yes, you should definitely have your medication checked. 99.9% of Americans hate paying taxes, and all of those people are always looking for a way to pay less taxes. Every year, more Americans discover the phrase, no state income tax, and then they react like they found a legal loophole in adulthood. They view it as a mystical place only smart people know about, and because they're planning on moving to one of those places, they're smarter than you. But here's the problem. States still need money. Roads don't pave themselves, teachers don't work on compliments and apples, police officers won't accept shout-outs on your Instagram as salary, and thanking soldiers for their service doesn't pay their mortgage. All those roads get repaired and all those people get paid by your tax dollars. So if your state doesn't tax your paycheck, it taxes your lifestyle. Hard sometimes. In this video, we show the states where the tax man doesn't take a slice of your paycheck. He takes a little more of everything else. Let's take a look. Number 9, Alaska. Alaska basically runs on oil money. The state government is funded heavily by petroleum revenue, so instead of taxing your paycheck, they tax the ground. Residents even get this thing called a permanent fund dividend, which is kind of a thank you for sticking around and tolerating moose traffic and winter darkness that lasts longer than some marriages. The trade-off is the brutal cost of living in many areas. Groceries are flown in, utilities are expensive, and everyday life is priced like it arrived by helicopter because sometimes it actually did. Alaska is very expensive, but not when it comes to taxes. They get you everywhere else. Their property tax, well, they're kind of up there. They're 11th in the nation, with a property tax burden of 3.46% on average. Now, you also get a break on sales tax because everything else so frickin' expensive. I guess they just don't want to charge it more than they have to when it comes to buying things. Their total sales and excise tax burden is 1.47%. That's the third best in the nation, or third lowest. Number 8, New Hampshire. New Hampshire advertises no income tax, and locals will happily put that on a bumper sticker. What they quietly mean is no tax on wages. Historically, they taxed interest and dividends, which was recently phased out, and they fund the state with some of the highest property taxes in the nation, which is great if you rent. I mean, your landlord is going to charge you a little more for rent because you got to pay such high property taxes, but it's not like you're getting a secondary bill every year. So if you rent, it's great. Less funny if you own a house that appreciates even slightly, and your tax bill follows that like a loyal golden retriever. Yeah, it's almost like you just don't want to be a homeowner in New Hampshire, because they'll tear up your bank account. So here's their taxes. Their property taxes are the second highest in the nation at 4.87%. Their sales and excise tax, that's next to nothing, 0.92%. That's 50th in the nation, is the best. So you can get paid and you could buy things and not worry about having to pay money to the state, really. It's just when you have some property, that's when they screw you. Number 7, Tennessee. You don't pay taxes in Tennessee, you just pay constantly. Tennessee sells a dream: mountains, music, friendly people, low cost of living, and no state income tax. Relocation influencers talk about it like a clearance rack of America. Those people always fail to remind you that you shouldn't move to Memphis. I will. But you don't escape the tax man entirely here in Tennessee. They get you other ways. Like when you buy something. Sales tax in this state is near double digits in many areas, and they tax almost everything that isn't nailed down. Sometimes things that are nailed down get taxed too. Groceries tax, school supplies tax, furniture tax, breathing near a cash register, emotionally taxed. But your income is not taxed. This system works fantastic for you if you're rich or barely spend money. If you're middle class, congratulations. Your budget is now a participation sport. You didn't pay taxes on payday, you paid them every afternoon at Target or wherever else you end up going. Now, overall, Tennessee isn't the absolute worst state. It's actually one of the better states because of the no income tax. That does help. It's just not letting you off the hook completely. That's my point here. I'm not saying they're the worst or anything like that. They're actually ranked 4th for the lowest overall tax burden. And they're also ranked 4th when it comes to property tax burden, which is 1.64%. That's not bad. Where they get you is the sales and excise tax. On average, it's 4.7%, which ranks them 7th highest in the nation. And that's their average, with other counties having more on top of that. So where, like I said, it is pretty low tax burden, ranked 4th in the nation, you're just not getting away tax-free like a lot of people seem to think it is. Number 6, Wyoming. Peaceful, quiet, and wildly inconvenient. Wyoming is beautiful, real life beauty. Like if you lived in New York City, you'll think everything in front of your eyes is fake. You move to Wyoming if you want to escape crowds and the government. But when the state has more cows than humans, someone has to cover the bills. And that someone becomes the people who need the services. You really can't have high taxes in Wyoming because everything else is really expensive. Groceries are a little more expensive than most states. Flights are more expensive. If you don't know, a regional airport is always going to be more expensive than, let's say, a major airport like LAX or JFK. And in some cases, you have to drive all the way down to Denver to catch a legit flight someplace. Contractors here are more expensive. Internet from 2007 is somehow more expensive, which that's becoming less and less a thing with the different little satellite systems they have for internet. The old internet providers are on their way out. You also have to remember businesses don't have a lot of people and they don't have a lot of competition. Not a lot of competition means businesses price things like they're the only gas station in a zombie apocalypse. And if you've ever been in a zombie apocalypse, you already know gas prices are high. So this all boils down to you don't pay income tax in Wyoming, which is wonderful. But a lot of things are more expensive than in other states. Overall, Wyoming is number 2 when it comes to the lowest total tax burden. When you look at their property tax, that's middle of the road. They're ranked 20th with 2.8%. And their total sales and excise tax burden, that's 2.98%, which is 36th in the nation. They don't charge a lot of taxes. That's why a lot of their roads suck. I mean, suck beyond the fact that they're a pretty much rural state. And in rural counties and states, roads get fixed about every decade. So if you've got a pothole on your street, you better fix it yourself or wait until the next decade. So here's the numbers. Wyoming ranks 20th for the highest property taxes at 2.81%. Sales isn't terrible. It's 2.98%, ranking them 36th in the nation. Not good, not terrible. But just the overall cost of living for what you're getting, that's where you get ripped off in Wyoming. One day a few months back, I started getting flooded with robocalls. We all get them. Sometimes it's a few a day, sometimes it's a few a week. This day, they were coming one right after another. That's when I realized I wasn't suddenly popular. Some data broker had my information and was selling it like garage sale furniture. Google your name. It's kind of scary how much information you can find about someone just by Googling their name. And yeah, that includes their sensitive information. I'm always trying to keep my family's privacy safe, and let me tell you, it can be a full-time job. You have to search through sketchy websites, contact people to get your information removed, and half the time, it's like playing digital whack-a-mole. That's why I'm actually pumped about today's sponsor, Aura. Aura is an identity protection service that does all the internet digging for you. They find where your information has been leaked, and then they delete it. Plus, they monitor your credit, keep tabs on data breaches, and even alert you if your phone number is being passed around by robocallers. Speaking of robocalls, I used to get them all the time. Now they're practically gone. Aura also sends me email when my information pops up. You can manage what they track, how they notify you, and what info you want locked down. I've tried a bunch of different identity protection services over the years, but all the tools I needed were on different apps. Aura keeps it simple. Everything in one place. Your personal information is floating around online, and Aura is worth checking out. They're giving my viewers a 2-week free trial. Just go to aura.com/Briggs, put in your information, and see what comes up. And don't worry, Aura keeps this stuff safe, encrypted, and they're not selling your data to random companies. Take back some control over your digital life. Try Aura. Back to the video. Number 5, Nevada. Built by casinos, priced like casinos. Now, when people move to Nevada or where everyone lives, they're in 2 places, really. You've got the Las Vegas metro area, and then you've got Reno. You got some other places scattered around the state, but most of the state is taken up by government property or just plain desert where no one lives. People move to the Vegas area for no income tax and cheap housing, and 6 months later, they're Googling, why is my car registration $900? In Clark County, fees are an art form. Registration fees, insurance rates, HOAs that keep breeding into the suburbs, utility add-ons that sound optional but aren't. Now that being said, it's still a great state if you're trying to avoid paying too much taxes. I mean, when you're living next to California, and if you compare the two, Nevada is the clear winner. Just keep in mind, even though there's no income tax, the state, like the casinos, have different ways to get your money. The property tax in Nevada is 2.15%, which ranks them 38th in the nation. Where they get you the sales tax, they're ranked 2nd in the nation at 6.47%. Number 4, Washington State. No income tax, just taxes with personality. Washington loves telling you that it has no state income tax. What it leaves out of that conversation is that it aggressively taxes movement, fuel, purchases, and existing near Seattle. Sales tax flirts with 10%, gas taxes that make a road trip emotional, business taxes quietly baked into prices. It can be rough. Some of the smartest people in the country, though, live in Vancouver, Washington, because they could live there and then just go across a bridge into Oregon and buy things tax-free. If you don't know, Oregon doesn't have a sales tax. I mean, every once in a while we get a politician saying that we need to change that, and they usually don't get reelected if they ever suggest that. It's almost like this sacred cow here in Oregon. You bring it up as a politician, next thing you know, they vote you off the island. So overall, Washington doesn't care when you make money. It cares deeply when you use it. So in case you're wondering, no, you're not escaping taxes. You've just converted it into everyday microtransactions. Here's their numbers. Their property tax is 2.64%. That's 25th in the nation. They're right around middle of the road. Not terrible. Now their sales tax, that's where they get you. 5.97% on average. As always, different municipalities have their own little thing, or they don't have anything at all, but that's the general, 5.97, or the average. That ranks them third in the nation for sales and excise taxes. Number 3, South Dakota. Cheap until you need anything modern. South Dakota is a favorite of full-time RV YouTubers who figured out residency hacks. Living there is different from registering there. This obviously is another state that doesn't charge you an income tax, but other things you have to pay for make up for it in the long run. Healthcare is far away, so there's some travel, so that kind of sucks. Flights cost a fortune, much like Wyoming. There's no major airport, so you got to go to regional airport or you got to drive to a major airport. Shipping here takes forever, so nothing's fast. And of course, winter here tries to repossess your soul. So in the end, you save money on taxes, but spend money solving problems distance creates. It's affordable as long as nothing goes wrong, and life famously ignores that rule. All in all, South Dakota is a pretty nice place to live. Here's their numbers. The property tax in South Dakota is 2.41%, putting them at number 33. Not bad. Not the best. Not horrible. Their sales tax, not as bad as some of the other ones on this list, but still pretty high up there. 4.05%. That ranks them 12th highest in the nation. So overall, you're not paying for it in taxes, you're paying for it other ways. Number 2, Florida. No income tax because the atmosphere bills you directly. Everyone moves to Florida for taxes. Nobody leaves because of the taxes. They leave because the insurance premiums developed ambition. Now, I've brought this one up a lot recently because it's been in the news and it's a really bad thing going on in Florida. In recent years, insurance companies have left the state or raised premiums so high, people like shudder when they think about their insurance bill. There's a lot of extra expenses in Florida that you need to know about. Home insurance, like I just said, is very high. Flood insurance, very high. You have HOA fees because this entire state is an HOA, it seems like. Of course, there's always the special assessment, and then there's tolls every 12 feet. You don't pay the state government much, you pay the insurance industry like it's an evil landlord. Retirees move down here for savings, but end up budgeting around weather patterns in Florida. Sunshine is free, survival equipment is not. Is Florida still a good deal? I think to a point it is. The property is relatively affordable, especially for a popular state. Besides the hurricanes, they have really good weather, and most of the state is kind of laid back. You just have extra fees that are a lot higher than most states. So here's their numbers. Their property tax is ranked 30th in the nation at 2.59%, not terrible. Their sales tax, on the other hand, it's kind of up there. It's 3.90% on average throughout the state. That's ranked 15th in the nation. All right, before we get to number 1, if you're thinking about moving to any one of these states, there's a link for a website called Home and Money in the description area below. They can get you in touch with a real estate agent anywhere in the country to help you with your move. All right, on to number 1. And number 1, Texas. The final boss of technically not a tax. Texas says it has no income tax with the confidence of a magician who already stole your wallet. Property taxes in many counties are enormous, not slightly high, mortgage payment high. Then of course you got the DLC pack with school taxes, which are pretty high, local taxes, which are pretty high, utility districts, which are insane, and of course, the ever-dreaded HOAs. The major metro areas of Texas are really turning into the HOAs. sort of like Florida and Arizona. Now, there's a reason for this, not just because everyone wants to live in an HOA. If a community turns into an HOA or is built with an HOA, that means a lot of the things the city has to take care of in other areas is taken care of by the HOA. Need the roads repaved? Well, that's going to be on the HOA, not on the city or the state. Rules are enforced, keeping up property values, and other little minor things that the city no longer has to put on its books because the HOA pays for it. Do you get a tax break for being in an HOA? No, you're now in an HOA that's just paying for stuff that your tax dollars should pay for. Of course, Texas is another state that has toll roads everywhere, and then their insurance rates are climbing like they're training for Everests. You don't get taxed for working in Texas, you get taxed for owning a mailbox. Many people move from a state with income tax and end up paying the exact same amount through housing alone. Texas didn't remove taxes, it just relocated it to your front lawn. But Texas is one of the most widely known as no income tax state, or most people think it's just a state that doesn't charge any taxes, and then they get here and they realize you're paying for a lot of stuff that you might not have had to pay other places, and they charge you every year for your property that you own. Here's their numbers. Their property tax is 3.55%, which is ranked 9th in the nation. Not the worst, but it's in the top 10 for highest. Their sales and excise tax is flirting with the top 10, coming in at number 11 with 4.22%. So to kind of wrap things up here, there is no free ride in the United States, even if they say there's no state income tax. The state has to make that money, and they find ways to get it without charging your paycheck. Are these bad states? No, when it comes to money, they're probably better than most. It's just the illusion that they're tax-free and extremely affordable is an illusion. Do I find other states appealing because they don't have any income tax? Absolutely. Would I move to one? Doubt it. All right, everybody have a great day. Be nice to each other.